Let It Die, Inferno, is one of the strangest and loudest games to drop this year. It brings back the surreal humour, the chaotic combat, and the grind heavy progression the series is known for. And while there are moments where the game hits that perfect sweet spot of madness and intensity, it also struggles with pacing, mechanical consistency, and some frustrating design choices. The story once again takes a back seat. You're thrown into a collapsing, molten underworld full of bizarre characters, dramatic one liners, and set pieces that look like a carnival built in a furnace. It's not really about deep storytelling, it's about the vibe, and in that sense, Inferno has plenty of style. The narrative rarely evolves in meaningful ways, though. Exposition repeats itself. Some characters come and go without much impact, and the pacing slows down significantly in the middle. There are standout moments, but the plot mostly exists to give the action a backdrop rather than push you forward. Combat is where the game tries to innovate the most, thanks to the new heat meter system. The idea is simple: the longer you stay aggressive, the more heat you build, and the stronger you become. When it works, it feels great. You get into a rhythm where every dodge, strike, and combo feeds into this rising sense of momentum, and it creates some genuinely exciting encounters. But the system is fragile. Back off for a moment, and the heat drops quickly. Environmental hazards reset it. Some enemies interrupt it too easily, and certain boss arenas feel designed in ways that unintentionally break the mechanic. There are also fights where the heat meter barely matters at all, usually the slower, more defensive encounters that force you to wait for openings. You can feel the game pulling in two directions: one that wants fast, aggressive action, and another that wants you to play cautiously like the earlier games. The two tones don't always blend well, which leads to a combat system that feels ambitious but inconsistent. The world design has a lot of creativity on the surface. Melted structures, rusted steel, rivers of lava, and giant industrial arenas set the mood immediately. It's a striking place to explore, but the actual layout of the level starts to repeat pretty quickly. You'll notice similar corridors, familiar enemy placements, and puzzles that don't evolve much after the first few areas. The creativity is clearly there. It just feels like the team couldn't fully develop each biome before moving on. Traversal has its own set of issues. Narrow ledges placed next to instant death balls, platforming that doesn't feel precise enough, and hotspots where your heat meter drains whether you like it or not. These aren't enough to ruin the game, but they do chip away at the flow. Enemy design is one of the stronger aspects of Inferno. The creatures look like a fusion of metal album artwork and mutated demons, and they each have distinct silhouettes and behaviours. The early enemies teach the basics well, and the mid-game introduces some creative patterns. But hitboxes can get a little sloppy, and there are several enemies with delay-based attacks that feel designed purely to bait players into dodging early. It creates some frustration that feels artificial instead of challenging. Bosses follow suit. The best ones are excellent. Big theatrical fights with multi-phase mechanics and dynamic arenas. But the weaker ones tend to be either unfair damage sponges or gimmicks that wear out their novelty quickly. Difficulty spikes can hit hard, especially in the late game, where some bosses feel more like gear checks than tests of skill. Progression is addictive, but also grindy. Weapon crafting, armor upgrades, and heat-based skill unlocks give you plenty to chase. You can build some genuinely cool loadouts, and the game rewards experimentation. But the grind gets heavy in the later stages. Materials drop slowly. Repetitive quests ask you to hit the same objectives over and over, and some of the late game crafting requirements bring progress to a crawl. There's a sense of satisfaction when everything comes together, but getting there takes patience, especially if you're not the type who enjoys farming. Visually, the game embraces its identity. Bold lighting, high contrast colors, molten landscapes, and exaggerated gore give it a very distinct look. The soundtrack leans into industrial rock, electronic noise, and heavy percussion, which fits the tone well. Voice work remains intentionally melodramatic, leaning into the game's blend of horror and absurd comedy. Even when the writing feels uneven, the performances at least know what kind of world they're in. At the end of the day, Let It Die, Inferno is a game full of ideas, some great, some messy. There are moments where everything clicks and the game becomes a wild, energetic rush. But those moments are mixed with uneven difficulty, repetitive environments, and mechanics that don't always cooperate with one another. fans of the series will find plenty to enjoy, and the presentation alone makes the game memorable, but newcomers may wonder why the game feels so conflicted in its design. Overall, it's a fascinating but flawed entry in the series. A creative return, a fiery experience, but one held back by inconsistent execution. My final score is a 6 out of 10. Let me know how you feel about the game below. If you enjoyed this review, leave a like and subscribe for more gaming reviews. See you next time!